Hi everyone, Sally here. Welcome to Menopause Mindset Monday. How are you doing this morning? So it's Monday and at 11:30 today I'm interviewing the lovely Meg Matthews for the podcast. So she's got a business called Meg's Menopause. So it's just a quick one today, not one of my usual chunky Facebook Lives. Hi everyone on Instagram. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about panic attacks because this is something I've had quite a lot of experience with, and I know a lot of women who are going into the menopause tend to experience a lot of anxiety, and sometimes this can be for the first time. And when a panic attack hits for the first time, if you've never had one before, it can be extremely overwhelming and it can be just really debilitating, and you can wonder what on earth is going on. You feel like you are in the middle of, well, you feel like you're going to die, basically. And it's very, very, very common among women who are going into the menopause because of this declining estrogen, declining progesterone, which is the sort of yummy hormone. You get this elevation of stress hormones. And I think the most important thing to remember is that just because you have panic attacks, even if they're fairly regular, it might not be panic disorder. And I think this is something that I got myself into, thinking that I had panic disorder because they were sort of coming quite regularly. But I think we have to be careful about labelizing, if that's a word, putting labels on things that we're experiencing that haven't actually been diagnosed. And I know, I've done this before. I've kind of self-diagnosed just because I wanted security in that label. But often, when we label something, we limit and we sort of put a lid on it. We kind of fix it. We put it in a box. We put it to one side. And it's quite difficult then to sort of get out of it. I think it's really important that we perhaps soften around what's going on and perhaps, use this idea that it's temporary, this too shall pass. And I don't have panic disorder anymore. I don't have that anxiety that I used to have on the daily anymore. I still get nervous. I still get the fear. I'm nervous about interviewing Meg. But, she's lovely, and I'm sure once we get going that it will be a great experience. So, yeah, just be careful with labeling yourself as having panic disorder if you are getting those panic attacks regularly. It could just be the declining estrogen and progesterone and testosterone as well. And the same goes for things like insomnia. Just because we can't sleep for a certain period of time, does it really mean that we have insomnia? Because when we label, the mind really listens to that label and it starts to interpret it, and it starts to make up a meaning around it that gets further and further and further embedded into your belief system. Once something's really embedded into the belief system, it's quite tricky to dissolve or to deconstruct or to get rid of, basically. So we want to really approach these things with a real sort of curiosity and an interest rather than hard and fast labels, especially with things like, nervous system issues and mental health issues as well. The more softer we can approach them, the less likely they are to embed deeply into our system. So panic attacks then are feelings of sudden fear, feelings of, whoa, oh my God, I can't cope. They're really physical. So it might be something mental that triggers the panic, but usually it manifests as something physical in the body. So it will manifest as, brain going blank. It can manifest as heart accelerating. It can manifest as tightening of the muscles. It can manifest as this sort of washing machine feeling in your stomach. It can manifest as I've just got to get out of here, that feeling of I need to escape. So an intense feeling of claustrophobia. So they're not very nice. They can be accompanied with a lot of sweating and reddening of the skin. And often many people, often we feel that many people outside of us can see the panic happening, but often they can't. You know, when I was looking back at that Facebook Live that I did last Tuesday with the Menopause, when I looked back at it, I thought it doesn't actually look as bad as what I was experiencing. So it's really important to understand that how it feels on the inside is not how it looks on the outside. We sometimes think that everybody knows that we're panicking or that we're feeling anxious, but in truth, nobody knows. They're really too sort of involved in their own stuff that's going on. And the good news is that they only usually really last for a short amount of time. They're quite fleeting, 10 minutes maximum. A full-blown panic attack really doesn't last very long. I've seen a lot of people have them. I've helped people through them. I've had them myself. And yeah, they're quite short. People think they're having a heart attack. People think that something very, very, very life-threatening is happening. And when they start to feed that belief that something life-threatening is happening, it can make it worse. So it's really, really important to recognize a panic attack for what it is and not feed the fear. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about solutions in a moment. But I wanted to let you know that actually a panic attack itself, it's not life-threatening. It's actually your body's way of keeping you alive. So it's a life-saving mechanism that happens because of a perceived interpretation of something life-threatening. So if you can get to the source, if you can reinterpret the outside world, you're less likely to have a panic attack. That's why working on your mindset is so important. So yes, it is, fear and panic, that feeling is a life-saving device. It's adrenaline being flooded into your system. That's why you sweat. That's why you get palpitations. That's why you blush. That's why your muscles kind of tense. So when my partner Graham had been given too much morphine last November, I don't know if any of you remember that, he sort of started to fade away. His oxygen sats got really low and he's sort of turned blue. In order to get him back online, they gave him a shot of adrenaline or something similar. And he came back round pretty quickly, to be honest. And when he came back round, his eyes were really wide and he felt like he'd been punched in the chest because the adrenaline kind of, it kick-starts everything. All the cells in the body have got these adrenaline receptors and it like wakes you up. So it's actually really fascinating. And sometimes, if I'm panicking, part of me will be like, this is really curious. My body is actually doing its own sort of life-saving, its own CPR. So if you can get to that point, it's quite, it's quite good. It's important to recognize panic for what it is. It's not trying to kill you, even though it feels like it. It's actually trying to keep you alive. So yes, many women at perimenopause, especially who have never experienced anxiety before, suddenly their sex hormones are declining, their stress hormones are increasing, and they get this anxiety. And it's really because of the fact that it's new that is the reason why they don't know how to deal with it. It's because it's new. So anything that is new is sort of like we don't have a repertoire of ways to deal with it. We don't have tools with which to deal with it. So once you've experienced panic a few times and you've been in the fear and you haven't dealt with it very well, you then learn how to deal with it. And then you're no longer afraid of it. So therefore they no longer come as much because you can deal with them. And then that sort of perceived threat kind of just diminishes, because we can end up becoming fearful of fear. And that's not a great place to be, because the fear itself, the fear of panic itself, can really make us withdraw. And then you end up with things like agoraphobia, social anxiety, not wanting to go out. And then when you isolate yourself even more, you disconnect from others, you're not getting a fundamental need met. And so that can really make things a lot worse for you in the long run. You know, being disconnected from others is a surefire way to increase your anxiety. So we really need to, you know, work on our fear of not being, work on not being fearful of fear. So I've just put a little post-it note here. Actually, it says, "It's only fear. What's wrong with fear?" So this is what's helping me today. And yeah, awesome. So how do we address panic attacks then? What do we do? What do we do when a panic attack hits us? So I think it's really important to let it come. And often when we resist what is, it can make it a whole lot worse. So I remember a student of mine, a singing student of mine, having a panic attack in the lesson, and she sort of kind of did all this sort of stuff, fell to the floor and, you know, started doing all this, started cold sweating. And I just said to her, it's okay, move towards the panic. Let the panic come. Let it in. It's only panic. It's only fear. And so when you go, oh yeah, it sort of resets the brain. So that's one thing that you can do. Also deep breaths, you know, from the physical response. So as you breathe deeper, you start engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. So you want nice, long, slow, deep breaths. The longer and slower, the better. And then the other thing that you can do is really just look around you. Start to because often when people panic, there's like this kind of, you know, glazed thing that's going on. They're not able to focus on what's around. So by getting somebody to actually give someone eye contact, to name different colours and different objects in the room, that can bring them out of this fear, and it can neutralise the fear. So just naming objects is a really good thing to do. And then, you know, like I said, recognising that it's a life-saving device is so good for us. Yeah, it's just reassuring yourself. You know, if you can do those things, if you can do those three things, so let it come, don't push it away, bring it on, recognize it as a life-saving device, breathe, focus on the bits around you so you get to externalize yourself. That's really good. Then it's about going in and looking at, so when you're not panicking, it's about going in and looking at the triggers. You know, what caused it? What were you thinking? Where was that perceived life-threatening danger alert signal floating around? What did you perceive as life-threatening? You know, some people can have panic attacks when they're packing to go on holiday because they're sort of, it's change, and change can be destabilizing. And also this idea of, well, I don't know what I'm going to need. How will I know what I'm going to need when I'm there? Is that's feeling of being out of control. So it's recognizing what is triggering. Is it feeling of being out of control? Is it a feeling of change? Is it a feeling of exposure? Is it a feeling of vulnerability? What is the feeling that's making you interpret fear in the way that you are? And then really doing some work around changing your perception of the trigger. There we go. So I hope you found that useful today. Just a little nugget of wisdom for you. I have a free gift for you. So if you are struggling with like anxiety and lots of adrenaline and cortisol, things like that, I've got a relaxation hypnosis freebie that I've just created, and you can get it at bit.ly/relaxation hypnosis. That's bit.ly/hypnosis. Grab yourself a free copy. It's 20 minutes. You do it for 20 minutes a day for 30 days ideally. And sometime after lunch and before dinner. That's when your mind is really open to that theta state, which is in between awake and sleep. So it's a lovely hypnosis. It's just sort of like a yoga nidra type hypnosis where you unwind and relax every part of the body. And it reminds you as well to express your emotions. So I hope you've enjoyed this little live and wish me luck for 11:30 today. Hopefully I'm actually going to put that podcast episode out today. I'm going to get it all done, get it all edited for you so that, we can all have the benefit of it. All right, my loves, have a lovely day. Bye.